Let's talk about Amendment 78 because it would amend the state constitution. So it's going to need 55% approval to pass.
Right, Jessica, that's known as a supermajority, and anytime that you're going to change the state constitution, which there have been multiple attempts, as you might guess, by Amendment 78, you're going to need to have that supermajority. So something like this, what this would do is it changes the way custodial funds work. It all kind of stems back to some of that federal CARES Act funding that we saw from Governor Jared Polis. He spent about $1.6 billion without bringing in the state legislature. Later on, what you saw him do is go ahead and bring in the state legislature, say, here's several $100 million that you guys can dedicate how you see fit, and the legislature broke that up. Republicans were really upset that it wasn't more and that they weren't brought in sooner. So they say that they want some of those custodial funds to go to the state legislature. This would also affect things like grants, for instance, transportation funding. It would affect things like FEMA emergency management money that's kind of coming in. We actually had just today some FEMA money. I think it was $8 to $9 million come into the state. So it would affect things like that, and the legislature would have to determine how this is going to be spent. Arguments for it were that no one person should be able to spend what we kind of saw during the CARES Act funding, right? $1.6 billion being spent by one person, although there were some obvious federal guidelines around how that would be spent. The opponents of it say that this is going to slow down responses for some of those things like FEMA money, and they say also that it could hurt Colorado's competitiveness. So once again, we're kind of keeping a close eye on this, but right now it looks like that, according to what we're seeing with the Colorado election results, this is going to have a lot of hurdles to overcome. It's at 57% no right now. It needs to cross that 55% threshold. We're still very early in the night, but this is some of the early results anyway. And you definitely, when it comes to a state constitutional amendment, you definitely want to pay attention to the early results because it's going to take a lot of people to get this passed.